Hey, Johnny.
Jay, I just did something super embarrassing.
What'd you do?
I clicked on the missed call from you on Skype,
Okay.
but I clicked on our old video, and the whole time I thought it was you on the recording. And I was like, "Hey, Jay, it's me, Jay," and you were wada 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 wada. Different shirt, mind you. And then I realized it was an old video. Eh,
Why is my voice not syncing up with what I'm saying?
hasn't a
Yeah.
lot of things ruined us when we were little, like movies,
Yeah, I think
TV
so.
shows?
I think so. In fact, I posed that question recently to people. This is a cast I've wanted to do for months, really over a year. I've wanted to do this cast, and the whole premise was like, what's a movie that scarred you that wasn't meant to be scary necessarily? Like, so it's not a straight horror film, but it scarred you as a child. Does that make sense?
Yeah, something you were a little too wasn't ready for your eyes yet.
Yeah, exactly. And it could be a horror film, I guess. Like, there are going to be a few that maybe breach that, but I really wanted to focus on movies that aren't supposed to be horror films. So I'll give you an example. My younger brother has had vivid nightmares for years and years and years. He's had these really vivid nightmares with like bizarre imaginings. He's had them like, and it's a recurring nightmare. And just recently he watched Spirited Away. I don't know. Do you know what that
The
is?
anime?
The anime, yeah. Have you ever seen it?
No, no, I know it's like a
Studio
mecca
Ghibli.
for
Yeah.
yeah.
With no face. So it's anyway. So he watched Spirited Away, and as he's watching it, there's all this like creepy artwork and creepy characters. Like people are eating each other and all this other stuff. And Mitch is like, "Oh my gosh, this is straight out of my recurring dream. How freaky is that?" So he's had a recurring dream because he watched Spirited Away when he was like. He had to have been 7 or 6, and he forgot what movie he saw, and has these nightmares for years and years and years, decades really, and then goes back, and this is how traumatizing the film was when he was 7.
That's usually how it is though, right?
Yeah, but the movie is meant to be sort of geared towards like a young teenager. You know what I mean? Like it's meant to
Mhm.
be kind of a child's tale, but it has some freaky imagery in there. No Face is scary. The little the guy with all the arms. I don't know. There's a bunch of scary stuff in it. The parents get turned into pigs.
Ugh.
It's a little bit spooky. So especially as like a 6-year old. So it's kind of funny. Do
Or
you
a
have one,
40
Johnny?
year old.
Yeah, or a 4-year old.
40, but yeah.
Oh.
You know what really brought to mind when you said this was Matilda.
Really?
Do you remember Matilda? I don't know if I watched it when I was too young.
You had to have.
Uh,
I just watched that like a month ago. I kid you not.
yeah, it's like there was just weird. It was just weird scenes. The principal was weird. How they had to eat the cake. Like it was just a weird movie. Like the parents were weird. Everything about it was just weird. And then out of nowhere, the parents just give her up and she's adopted by the teacher. And it was just weird. It was just weird. I didn't like
Yeah.
it.
It's a strange movie. There's one scene where Matilda goes and starts like so there's two really scary scenes I can think of as a kid that like really like I wouldn't say they traumatized me, but I was super on edge. And it's when Mrs. Honey and Matilda are in the Trunchbull's house and they're like trying to evade her.
Mm.
She's like
And she's running after
smelling
him.
them. Yeah, she's running
Uh,
after them. She's got spears. She's got the what's the Olympic thing where the hammer throw. She's got hammer throws with her. Like she's ready to kill them.
yeah, she's an Olympian.
At one point, yeah, she's an Olympic athlete, and she jumps off the stairs at one point onto the first level. Like the whole thing's pretty traumatizing as a kid.
I'm told you it's creepy.
Yeah, she's stuck under the table. I remember that as a kid being freaked out when the Trunchbull's hand is coming to look under. Anyway, if you haven't seen Matilda, it is I highly recommend it. It's currently on HBO. I think it's HBO or Hulu. Um, will you? Can
It
you watch it, Johnny? Are you too
Yeah, no,
scared?
no. I mean, I've rewatched it later on, and there's good scenes to it. Like I like it how Matilda's just really smart and starts knocking out the little worksheet books that they have,
Yeah.
or they do a math question like one day you'll be smart enough to divide this, and Matilda does it, and the teacher like hand figures it out like 2 minutes later. Oh, you were right.
Yeah, it's got some really good scenes, and it's a
It's
quick
weird.
movie.
I just remember being scared.
It's like a 90-minute movie, which is nice because it moves fast. So, yeah. The other scene, okay, just real quick. There's a scene where this portrait of someone is flying at the Trunchbull. It's genuinely terrifying. Even as an adult, I was like, wow, That was a creepy shot, like because it's
Yeah,
an
it was
old
her
timey
sister-in-law or
her brother-in-law.
cousin-in-law,
Yeah,
brother-in-law. Yeah,
yeah, freaky stuff. Trunchbull is just mean. She's hilarious though. She throws a
yeah.
kid. Oh, it's it's a great movie. Everyone should
It
watch it.
it's cool. I mean, other than that, Jurassic Park kind of messed with me. I was too scared
Oh,
to go
I
back into a park full of dinosaurs. Like, why is this a good idea?
Yeah, Jurassic Park and then Jurassic Park 3. Both I watched when I was really, really young because my older brother, who's 4 years older than me, loved these movies. So I, was watching them. But it's like, there's a big difference between being 15 and being 11 in terms of your
Oh
your
yeah,
ability to
well,
handle scary monsters.
even like 12 and like 8, right? So
Yeah. Yeah, so I was very freaked out by there's a few traumatizing scenes, especially in Jurassic Park 3. There's a guy who like he's gotten his arm bitten off and he's like, "Please stop the plane for me." And he's like losing it. Like as a kid I was like, "Oh, I almost started crying." Like I was so scared for this guy. And then he gets eaten and taken out. Yeah.
ugh.
It's yeah. Funny, real quick, funny story on Jurassic Park, Johnny. So I rewatched Jurassic. I haven't seen Jurassic Park in like 15 years. During COVID, they started replaying movies. Right, the movie theaters wanted to
Mhm.
stay open, so they replayed old movies because nothing new was coming out. So my wife and I went and saw Jurassic Park, and there's a scene. So I didn't remember some of the stuff, and there's a scene where a raptor jumps out at a lady, and I didn't know it was coming, and I audibly screamed in the theater, and it wasn't an empty theater. Like it was maybe a fourth full, which during COVID was a lot, right? I went oh, and I like and not as deep either. Like it was a little more high pitched. I just don't want to recreate it.
You
I
were Gus from Psych.
yeah,
Just
exactly. I full on screamed. I'm pretty sure everyone in the theater was like, "What? Like this movie has been out for? Has this guy not seen it before? Like, how did that scare him?" Like,
but again, sometimes things are better in the theater, right? You got the darkness, you got the bass going, right? It's made to be watched in the movie theater.
one, I knew a raptor would jump out at some point. I just didn't realize it was right then. Like, so, like, I was totally calm, like, didn't expect it, and then its face just like, wow! I screamed. It's when she's like turning back on all the power. You know what I'm talking about?
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. Give me another one, Johnny.
You know what really got me um, was Batman Returns, the second Michael Keaton Batman.
Oh, I know what scene you're
I
talking about.
I think I watched that when I was 6. I'm not even kidding. My parents just did not really
No
appeal to me. They were
censorship.
just like, "Oh, it's Batman. It's fine." He loved the first one so much. It was just a lot of it. Like when the penguin just pops up and he's all gooey and weird, and it was just all in all just gross.
You know what's funny, Johnny, is there's a common denominator between the two that you mentioned. Danny DeVito stars in both.
Oh yeah, he's a creepy dude, man.
And it's your favorite show with It's Always Sunny, so it's kind
Oh
of
yeah, yeah. I mean, he's better when I'm an adult, but
yeah. Do you remember
I
when he
mean,
bites the guy's nose?
the second Batman was so scary they had to edit it, and that's what got Burton mad, right? It's because they made it even less scary.
Yeah.
And Burton was like, "I'm done," and then they made it into like a 4-year-old cartoon after that. The last two in that genre. But yeah, that movie was really really scary. Nothing too particular, just
Well,
in general.
do you remember when he
Creepy.
bites that guy's nose off? Like
Oh, that is creepy.
disgusting.
Oh,
It-
ugh.
yeah, or his big onesie. Just bald men who look like penguins in onesies with deformed hands is just not. It's just unsettling.
Yeah, they did great casting back then, though. So I'm excited to see how they bring them all. Well, bring one back.
Yeah, Michael
The
Keaton will be
Flashpoint.
interesting. Yeah, I think that'll be good. Okay, so we put a poll out, right, Johnny? I'm trying to think if I had one that was super scarring from when I was a kid. Maybe Signs.
Oh, you watch Signs? That
Oh,
is not a kid movie.
no, I watched Signs like when it first came out, and that one was pretty scarring for me. I couldn't even
I
watch the whole
can't watch
thing.
it.
I got to the point where, like, you see the leg in the cornfield, the leg moves.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I've never seen it because I'm not that type of movie.
Okay, well,
I know what it's about a little, but I did not. Ugh.
Mel Gibson thinks there's like a robber in his field, right? And so he's pointing his flashlight or whatever, and he's got it just hit on a spot, and you see like there's it kind of blending in. There's an alien leg, and then it moves back into the. So you
Whoa.
don't realize it's there, and then the minute it moves, you see it, and you're like, oh, it's
Ugh.
spooky. And that was one. So just to so we put out a poll right on Facebook of like, tell us what traumatized you as children, and it maybe and Signs is it was meant to be more of a thriller than a horror, but it came up multiple times that people were scarred in our age group that had seen Signs as young teenagers or
I'm shocked you
younger.
watched it. It's scary. You must have tried to been brave, Jay, back then.
It was more no, I wasn't. I left after that scene and then came back and left after. Anytime I got really scared, I'd just bail. I'd leave the room and eventually make my
All
way
right, what
back.
did I? And we posted this. You posted this on your personal FB Facebook, right?
Yeah, I thought we'd get a little more interaction there.
Yeah, we're still learning how to use social media to our benefit.
Right. And there's some people who don't follow us on Insta who I wanted to hear from, so I did it on a personal level, and then we'll just talk about kind of some of the things people went through. So I don't know. Do we want to use like first initials? Just first names is cool.
This is your thing. I mean, some of them have been on the cast, so it's fine. You can use their handle.
There's a million and one Kayleys or Carlys or we'll just use first names and not go beyond that. So my buddy Henrik,
a generic European woman, Eastern European woman. Yeah,
exactly. My buddy Henrik said that the scene in Fire. Let's see, Fire in the Sky abduction scene. I don't know what Fire in the Sky is. Have you seen it?
No, it sounds scary though.
Yeah, and then he brought up Signs too. I don't Signs. I can't believe you haven't seen it, Johnny. I almost want to tell you to watch
going
it.
in. It's like It, right? I came across It the first 8 minutes, and then there's like a clown in the sewer, and I'm like, why are you talking to Pennywise? And I ran away.
You're smart.
I was 23 at the time.
Yeah. Yeah. So my buddy Henrik, he also mentioned Signs, and then let's see. Kelsey said the movie The Leprechaun. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah, that's so I've never really seen it, but Wayne's World jokes about it.
Okay.
The movie they're doing their little bottom thing, and he goes, "I'm the leprechaun," and Wayne is doing it, and Garth freaks out. He does it for like 45 seconds. It's such a long one. He just had a flashlight under his leg. He goes, "I'm the leprechaun." I think I watched the third one because the girl in it was attractive. You know my rule.
Yeah. It's like Trolls 2.
But I don't think I watched 1 or 2. Like I watched the fake straight to DVDs or straight to cable ones.
Got it. One I wanted to talk about. So our buddy who's actually been on the cast, Michael Glassford. I don't know if you saw his comment or not.
No. I leave the Facebook comments for you to read me.
I like that he mentioned Legally Blonde.
I was waiting for a funny one.
Yeah. I mean, he's a lawyer, so like to him, it must just be traumatizing to have watched.
See some girl just be like, "What's that little tiny box? The hopper?" Yeah, that thing. And it's adorable, so you let her do whatever she wants.
I think it was more like from a legal standpoint, just all the inaccuracies and problems, I'm guessing, is what
Yeah,
scared
that's what I'm
him
saying.
so much.
Like, there's no way you're going to let someone like this get this far in democracy.
Vote for Al. I actually love Legally Blonde.
Actually, you know what? It's not bad. I like that. That's my guilty pleasure movie to watch. Not Desert Island, which was an Office quote.
In the words of Phil from Modern Family, Haley, this is real life, not an incredibly well-made movie. His other one was E.T., which I've never seen. E.T. freaks me out, so I never saw it.
You've never seen E.T.?
No way. No way. It freaked me out as a kid, so I didn't want to watch it as an adult.
It's funny because I've seen it. It's not like I rewatched it, but I love the ride when I went to Universal as a kid because you're riding a bike and you're running around.
Oh, I see.
The bike lifts you up and down. So it was a fun ride at a park.
Every time Steven Spielberg comes up, and my uncle Sam, Sam, who's been on the cast, he talks. He's a filmmaker, and he talks about how much he loves Spielberg and E.T. And I'll tell him I haven't seen E.T. and this has happened like 10 times, and he goes, and like this big dramatic breath. He goes, "You've never seen E.T." and he whispers it to me, and I'm like, "Dude, we've been there, done that. I'm not watching the stupid movie. I'm not doing it." And he goes, "Hey now!"
Jake Crichton watches it.
I'm not watching it.
Well, it's because it doesn't relate now. Phone home. You mean like tweet home? Like what's
TikTok home?
I mean, yeah, TikTok. Make a video.
Instagram Reels home.
Ugh.
Did you ever see the Saw movies?
No, I've never been into that genre. I've seen funny remakes of it where they make fun of it. Like Aqua Teen Hunger Force does it. It's like they're 12-minute cartoons, and they had one where they're just making fun of it. And he's like, they're making fun of the Saw guy, and he's like, "You just need a friend, man." And they just walk away.
They did Saw in The Office, but then they later deleted the scene. Do you remember that?
Really?
Well, it's not quite that intense. Dwight shows up as Saw, as Jigsaw.
And they deleted that?
Well, it's the one where Michael's got like he hangs himself in front of the children.
Ah, the one with the kids ride, and they literally have the two most inappropriate scenes.
But it's one of my favorite.
Uh,
It's one of my favorite Office openings. So well done, but pretty messed up. Anyway, oh, and there's the Rick and Morty saw scene
yes,
with
I don't remember it.
the Vindicators too,
Oh yeah, that's right. That's what that was. That's right. That's right. The whole homage to it. Yeah.
and Rick gets blackout drunk and then sets up traps like Saw.
Yeah.
Let's see. So anyway, my buddy Hunter said Saw 2, the needle scene. Didn't look it up. Don't want to see it. Don't care. Here's another one. So Kate said basically all the scenes in We're Back that have Professor Screwies in them. Did you ever see We're Back? I've never even heard of
No.
some of these.
Never heard of it.
I love how there's like these 90s films that are like just niche that like your parents would buy on VHS and you'd watch it over and over again. And so everyone, depending on what your parents bought, had different experiences because it wasn't like it was recommended on a streaming site and things came and went. You had your set library. And so this sounds like one of those movies where their parents probably owned it and it probably traumatized them.
I don't remember that at all. It sounds like a good 80s movie though, 90s movie.
Yeah, I don't know. Our buddy Chris, who's been on the cast, the Master of Metal, mentioned the Nick Cage movie, The Wicker Man.
That's a fun one to make. I don't. Did he traumatize out of laughter?
Why don't you tell us a little bit about Wicker Man?
All I really remember are so they're trying to. There's like a cult, and they're trying to sacrifice Nicolas Cage, right? And they put him in a cage, like a cage for his head. Like a bird cage, and he can't remove it, and they just pour bees in there, and he's like, the bees, and that's it. And like they just freak out about the bees.
Oh, not my eyes.
Yeah, and he just goes off about the bees. Like just Google that or YouTube it, and you'll just get a laugh.
So it's one of the most like manic films ever made. So there's a scene where Nick Cage is going undercover in this cult. And he's wearing a bear suit because I guess there's like a mascot for the cult. And in this bear suit, some lady comes up to him and says something snarky, and he just straight clocks her and knocks her out in the bear suit. So Nick Cage in a bear suit knocking someone out. If that's on your bucket list items, it happens in this film. The other funny line, there's just some weird stuff he says. Like at one point he says, "Killing me won't bring back your gosh dang honey."
Oh man,
it's good.
I gotta rewatch that one.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. Our Master of Metal also said, "I Am Legend."
Yeah, that one. I read that one. Is it? He was not a child.
we
That came
would
out.
have been like 14.
Yeah, I was trying to see, is it because it's like a dystopian type thing, and those alien things are kind of weird.
Have you never seen it?
Oh yeah, the Will Smith one.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I was just trying to see what.
So they're not
what
aliens. They're more like zombies. It's like a
I said
disease.
dystopian.
Okay, I thought you said alien.
Man, it's Skype for you.
No worries. Yeah. So did that one not scare you at all?
No, but I was like 18 when it came out, so I was fine.
I guess that scene where he's
I saw it in the theaters too.
The scene where he's like in the dark looking for his dog didn't bug you?
And funny story, I only went to that theater because there's these things called trailers that would come out, and the Batman trailer, Batman, what was the second one called? Dark Knight, right? And there was like an 8-minute version of that if you watch that movie. So we really went to that movie only to watch the Batman trailer, which was awesome.
That's legit. I was really freaked out by I Am Legend. I'm not gonna lie. I was with Chris on this one. There's a scene where like a mannequin moves that Chris mentioned, and for me, this is terrible. I saw it when I was in California, and my family lived in Northern California. My family lives in a cul-de-sac. Like two siblings live in a cul-de-sac, so you can run from one house to the other in the cul-de-sac, right? So I would get out of one house and it would be pitch dark, and I would be so freaked out having to go to the other house that I would sprint there, nervous that zombies would come out of the sides. And I was like 14 at the time, and this movie, like, dude, it like inceptioned me. That's embarrassing.
Oh. Yeah.
I'm kind of sad that you didn't. I don't know. It didn't.
We went
you.
over 4 years is a big deal, man.
Yeah, I guess so. Did you ever watch Courage the Cowardly Dog?
I loved Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Someone said that traumatized them as a kid.
It was a weird cartoon, man. Back in its Cartoon Network heyday with They're like Dexter's Lab and Ed, Ed and Eddie. Like this was probably the next generation, and it was just weird. Have you seen it?
Oh yeah, no, I watched a lot of it.
Yeah,
It's
it's trippy.
it's almost perverted too. Some of the characters are like that disgusting and weird, and I guess maybe that's the wrong term, but like, what's a good term for it? Like
No, I like it because it's
twisted.
kind of like it's like Ren and Stimpy. Like it was just a weird show for little kids. Like
There, there were some characters, Johnny, that were straight out of like,
yeah,
like
like they were just gross. Like Ren
haunting.
and Stimpy,
Gross is a
like they
good
would just
term. Gross.
yeah, they would just like grab earwax and like look at it, and it was just gross. I'm like, or belly button lint, and he's like, I'm collecting it, and I'm like, why? It's just gross.
All right. So my wife said Jumanji, the original Jumanji with Robin
Oh,
Williams.
I get that.
That one haunted me as a kid. That freaked us out pretty good.
I'll second that one. I was just that was just a creepy game. Like when the dad, I didn't even realize the dad was the hunter, and I'm all like scared until my dad pointed it out, and I go, huh, "Are you gonna kill me?" Huh? Huh?
I was genuinely concerned that giant mosquitoes existed and they were going to come get me. Because there was a lady who got bit in the neck and died by a giant mosquito.
Did you? So the board game came out. I was scared to play it. No one I really knew owned it, but I was like, I'm not playing that game.
We owned
Why
it.
would they make this?
We owned it.
Oh, you're brave.
We never played it. It wasn't a very fun game.
Yeah. You know, one turned into. Did you try to cheat? I know you.
Dude, we never played it. I think one time in my life we played it and it was like, this is not very much fun.
This is not like the movie at all.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's like, can we go back to playing Monopoly? It's 3 in the morning, Grandma. You win. I'm trying to think. There were other like there were a few scenes in Jumanji that weren't that scary, but like, and Robin Williams was freaky in it too. Like he would scream at the children and chase them. The lion was scary. I remember being stressed about that movie. It was a little bit traumatizing. Did you ever see? There's a clown scene in the original Poltergeist. Someone mentioned Poltergeist is a horror movie, so
Yeah, no, I never had the. I know the static, and like the they're here. Is it they're here? Oh, what's that famous scene she says? I think they're watching or they're here. Either way, it's been quoted before, but I know some of the quotes. I do not know that show at all.
yeah, no. I always get Poltergeist confused with Exorcist. The Exorcist. I always forget which one's which. I know one's with like the little girl in the bed and she's puking. I don't know.
Yeah, that's Exorcist.
Okay.
Poltergeist is just the ancient burial ground, and the TV does the Snow Channel TV.
Oh, I never saw
Yeah,
it.
yeah, it's creepy.
I like someone said that they were traumatized as a kid from the tornado in The Wizard of Oz.
Wizard of Oz is a little weird.
Because you always like my parents showed it to us when we were like 6. That's not an exaggeration.
Yeah.
I was like 6 when I first saw The Wizard of Oz, and like you've got the creepy witch lady. Dun 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 dun.
Music is crazy.
Yeah, and the like even yeah, and then it's black and white, and the twister's going, and you're thinking everyone's gonna die, and then the house crushes the witch. Like the whole thing, it's pretty morbid, and the flying monkeys.
Well, and even the lion who wants courage, like that's a scary forest he goes into.
Yeah, he's freaky when he first starts screaming at him and chasing him. I was like, ugh.
And then you learn like more about that movie on set, and it's even creepier. So it's just a creepy all around movie.
The aesthetic is very spooky. Yeah, it's for whatever it's a little twisted. I don't know. That movie's still kind of a little bit spooky. It's not meant to be, but it is.
There's actually a really cool version that Zoe Deschanel made, I think in '08. It was like a ABC trilogy, 3 long. You can typically find it on a streaming site. I recommend it if you just look at Zoe Deschanel and Zoe and Wizard of Oz.
I'll do that. That sounds
Yeah,
pretty good.
it's just kind of like that one that your wife told you to watch that I said it was on Amazon. Oh, it's like a weird fantasy show.
Carnival Row.
No, that's what I always love you to tell. No, this was made in like 2002. I'll
Oh,
remember.
you're talking about. I know which one you're talking about. The Ninth Kingdom or whatever. The Tenth
Yeah,
Kingdom.
yeah. So it's kind of like that type of random thing, which is fantasy based. So
Yeah.
I always like to give little recommendation nights. That's a good one. If you can go and find, I think it can even be on Hulu. Zoe Deschanel when she does Wizard of Oz.
I love that. Our friend Hannah said, "My teacher ate my homework, scared me super bad as a kid, and gave a phobia of dolls." You ever heard of that one?
It sounds familiar.
Have you ever heard "This Is the End"?
No, I heard a Johnny dies at the end. That one made me sad.
Because he died.
Yeah. Nah, he died technically in the beginning, but it's all right.
Some people commented like straight horror. I guess I should have stipulated like it shouldn't have been horror, but like it was really mentioned by our boring friend. Um, that's a play on their name. And then The Shining. Let's see. There was a movie called The Thing. Did you ever see The Thing?
Yeah, the thing is like the swamp creature. Um,
Okay, yeah, yeah. I
yeah.
I always get The Thing confused with The Fly. Like the two
Oh,
of them,
yeah.
don't they seem super similar? Like same theme?
Yeah, the fly is, I mean, they're all just mutated scientists, right? So,
So there's a funny scene in one of the two. I don't know if it's The Thing or The Fly, but there's a scene where someone gets infected and they're like turning into like a bubbling monster and they're running out and they go help me, and
yeah.
then they move out into the street and a car runs into them and they
Oh,
completely get pulverized
that
into
could
like.
be any of them.
All right, well here's the funny thing, like sorry, it wasn't meant to be funny. Like they thought that it was going to make the movie R-rated, and then like
Oh, okay.
when the rating agency like watched it with the crowds and stuff, everyone was laughing at it. So they're like, "Hey, you can keep it in the film." Like it didn't make the movie R. It was other stuff that they wanted to cut, but that specific scene was deemed to be funny and not not sad. Uh, you know what was before I kind of want to do one of my personal ones. I've kind of talked about
Yeah.
them already, but a big one for me was Revenge of the Sith. The first time I saw it, because
Really?
so it came out in 2006. So I'd have been 12. Actually, I'd have been 11, just about to turn 12. May 19th, 2006. I can still remember the trailers for it, but I was so excited for this film, and I was not expecting to see Anakin get burned to a crisp. As an 11-year-old, that was pretty like, oh, that was pretty heavy for me. So that there was that, and then there was one other. Oh, when he killed the little kids in the temple. When I was 11, I was like, okay. I was used to like Return of the Jedi and other stuff. Like, I thought that was.
Hey, man, he killed them all. He killed them
It
all.
was almost rated R. I don't know if you knew this, but Revenge of the Sith was like within inches. Like the rating agency was super close to putting it as R. From a bunch of articles came out about it. They made him cut a couple scenes and they almost made it rated R. So I mean, it is a heavier movie. You have to admit, like him getting burned while Obi-Wan's it was emotional, and that's the thing is like it doesn't just necessarily need to be like scary. I also mentioned like if it's scarring, like it was scarring for me because it was so emotional, and it was like, what is this?
It made, I don't want to have these feelings.
Yeah, exactly. Like I never, that was a crazy movie experience to be in theaters for that, and just like,
Well, especially because you grew up with Anakin, right? Like one, two, three, right? It's not like the original ones. He doesn't really Luke doesn't really age. He's pretty much the same. It's like 2, maybe 3 years later, but he's the same. He's not from a kid to teenager, late teenager to man, right?
right. And I had seen all the other Star Wars movies, so like in my head, I knew that at some point Anakin had to go from like a good-looking Hayden Christensen to an old man who had burns all over him and no arms and legs. But I didn't realize I'd have to actually watch him get his arms and legs chopped off and burned next to lava. Like I didn't really make that connection, that was going to happen as an 11-year-old. Like I knew it did happen, but I didn't realize like you know what I mean. Like you don't always kind of like put two and two together.
Yeah. I mean, even I was like, oh yeah, it is this guy. Um, but no, there's I get where you're coming from on that. Have you back to a little bit? What did you feel? Did you ever watch Goose? Did you ever read the books Goosebumps?
Yeah, and I watched the shows. The teachers would show it sometimes.
Yeah, the TV shows. There's this one, and I like almost forgot about it. When you do that, the Jack in the Box,
Mm-hmm.
and they pop out. There was just this one in the cartoon where he just popped out, and he had just right there, but his face was just so creepy. I just didn't like it, and it was kids' cartoon.
We watched a kids show that was supposed to be like that creep or whatever, and there was the monster, and the monster would die if it touched water, and eventually they threw it into a pool. And I just remember the monster coming out of the pool, like bleeding everywhere, like Indiana Jones, which we're going to talk about. But like it was melting and screaming, and to me as a little kid, I was like, it's amazing. Like everything you feel as a kid is like times 10. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but now I'm just a cynical old bald man. So what's
I
you
mean,
know?
I'm still a little terrified. I mean, how do you feel about the Goonies? Did that ever terrify you? Did you watch the Goonies young?
No, I've only seen parts of Goonies and it never really scared me.
Yeah, it's just when I saw that, I always forget the creature's name that's locked up, and he just pops up, and he's like, "Rrr," and I didn't like him. He's
Slock or
gross.
whatever.
Sloth. Yeah, he just looked creepy.
Yeah. Ah. I always thought he looked funny.
Oh no, dude, not when you're 8.
Did you know he was a defensive lineman for the Raiders?
I mean, these should be. Look at him.
Yeah, he was jacked, and he's dead, which is kind of sad.
Oh.
He died soon after he OD'd or something. Okay, before we was Indiana Jones freaking you at all when they opened the Ark?
No, I was
Okay.
okay with that one.
That one freaked me out because I probably saw it when I was 7. Like that was a movie we watched young again, like pretty young.
Yeah.
We watched that movie, and when the angels go from like this pretty lady to it's beautiful, and then suddenly she turns into like a phantom, and he just that scene was
There's
terrifying. Face
that one
melts.
was. I think I watched it in like just on regular cable TV, so it
Mhm.
wasn't too, and I wasn't really paying attention.
Okay, I'll send you the scene, Johnny. It'll get you.
Okay, I'll make sure to open it up in the daytime around people with distractions.
I still think yeah, as a kid that freaked me out pretty bad. My friend Caitlin said every scene with Gollum in Lord of the Rings.
Gollum is freaky, man. I mean,
Do you remember the opening of the third the third one where it like shows his transition from good to evil? That was pretty
yeah,
scarring.
that's. I mean, I know to this day you still get freaked out about when Frodo tries to get the ring from
Bilbo.
Bilbo. Yeah, wow, that one sent me back. Yeah, Bagman, it's turned. Yeah, that's a. You were how old were you when that one dropped?
It came out in 1999 or 2000, so I was 6 or 7.
Oh wow, jeez. Did you watch it at that age?
Yeah, I watched it the minute it came out on VHS. My brother somehow convinced my mom. We never bought brand new movies, and my brother somehow convinced my mom to get brand new VHS. I think from Costco. They were selling Lord of the Rings. He wore her down, and she came home with it, and we watched it that same day. And that scene, oh, more than the Night Riders. Like the Night Riders never really scared me. I thought they were just cool. The
Yeah,
Nazgul, yeah, like the Riders in Black never bugged me. Nothing
they're
really
pretty
ever
cool.
scared me. The goblins, I thought it was just like magical and amazing. The only thing that terrified me was freaking Bilbo lunging out at.
It's those one scenes that startle you.
I
Pretty
love that.
well.
Yeah, that Gollum freaked her out. Just I can picture him crawling down. The only time he scared me was when he transitioned and like there was like the in between faces. Those were freaky.
Oh, when he started losing a little bit more of the hair,
Yeah,
and he's
and he
and
started to
he's
look
eating
more
fish
cow.
more raw,
Mm-hmm.
like that. That was weird to me. That was just grossed out to me.
Yeah, and that was another one that was scarring because when he chokes out his best friend, I was like, wow, that was pretty heavy. Like they were just
Schmeagle,
having a
what's
good
wrong
time.
with you, dude?
Dude, you're fishing. Calm down.
Schmeagle, calm down, bro.
Yeah, yeah, that freaked me out as a kid because we saw it in theaters, and I was like, I was expecting like, because both of the other intros were like these big action set pieces, right? I wasn't expecting this intimate, terrible opening where it's murder by strangulation. So it was, I don't know. Do you remember seeing? Did you watch the Lord of the Rings in theaters?
The third one I did. The other two I just home or friend's house.
Okay.
It was just harder to go to movies. I will nerd fashion this. Nerd fashion? Yeah, nerd
Yeah.
fashion this. Nightmare Before Christmas. The Boogeyman? A little bit, man. It was just weird. I just, with the little kids in the scary masks. Because it came out and I was probably 6 or 7. And like the most goody two shoe kid that I grew up with loved it. And I was like, oh yeah, dude, no, it was like kids movie. But it was weird. It threw me off a little bit.
I love when he's got Santa tied up, and Santa's like, "What are you gonna do to me?" And the boogeyman goes, "Well, I'm gonna do my best." It's like, okay, talk about a Freudian,
Oh.
a Freudian line. It's pretty funny. But there was a black light going, so we know nothing sketchy happened.
Nothing at all. It's all good.
I got 2 more, Johnny. You got any more?
Go for it. I
Okay.
mean, the only thing, I don't know if you watched it. I think it's called Witches, It's like a '90s kids
Yeah, The
movie where
Witches, Roald Dahl. That's another. So Matilda
what
was
is
written
it?
by Roald Dahl. The Witches, where they transform with the long nose and
Yeah,
stuff.
that transformation was pretty gross. It's kind of like on Beetlejuice when they pulled out their face. I just don't like the long noses now. I realized.
So unless it's Mona Lisa.
Oh yeah, well that's fine.
So here's the funny part, Johnny. You talk about having things that are tied. Like so, both of those movies were based on books by Roald Dahl. Roald Dahl is how you say his name. So both Matilda, both of the ones you mentioned, Matilda and The Witches, are his books. That freaked you out.
Dude, what a weirdo, man.
uh, okay, did Jaws freak you out?
I didn't really watch it, but I was terrified from those two notes. Like, I just knew it was weird. I think you're just growing up in that era. You're just aware of that movie no matter what. The da right? And I don't think I never really watched it because I'd have to. My parents weren't that huge into horror movies. I think they've seen it, but me and my sister were too little. But I mean, it's terrifying. Just the music is still traumatizing this day.
I had a hard time going in lakes after watching it. I was so scared that I don't have that issue now. Like I've done not deep sea diving. I've done some sea stuff though where I don't get bugged. Like in waters where I know there's great whites and like it's so rare to see them. They usually don't care about you. You know what I mean? Like
They don't go above too high unless they're hungry, right?
yeah,
They're usually more
exactly.
submerged.
Yeah, and I wasn't going that deep to where I was super concerned about it. But so it doesn't really play into me at all now. But as a kid, like I was nervous. I was nervous in pools. I'd still get in them, and in lakes, I was really scared because I knew Jaws was gonna come get me. Like I needed to be either in the boat or
I mean, did you need to be in the boat?
or
Because
on
the
the
boat didn't
tube.
help at all.
That was the other thing is I remember as like a 10-year old like looking out, making sure we didn't see a fin anywhere, and it's like there were only bass in that lake, maybe a few trout. Like I don't know. It's funny how movies do that when you're a little kid. It's totally different. So that scarred me for years until I was about 16. I struggled with lakes. I was probably 15, but
Did you get scarred with the Lion King?
I I've actually never seen the original cartoon.
Get out! This explains so much about you. You hate Toy Story. You don't like the Lion. You've never seen the Lion King.
My
Getting
mo-
so much into you.
my mom
So I
hated the
watched it
Lion
in
King, so she
theaters.
never we
Okay,
never owned it. Yeah, so you saw it in theaters.
dollar movie because that was the thing to do in the '90s, right? You go to the dollar movie,
Yeah,
and two
absolutely.
things I remember. I remember crying in that theater, and I remember being terrified when they're in the Scar's lair, and the jackals are running around. There's just bones everywhere, and it's just creepy. And this is a Disney movie for little kids.
And they look like
And then
little
it gets.
Hitlers, little Nazis with the way they walked.
Oh, okay. I didn't know what Nazis were, Jay, at the time,
Okay.
but and it's kind of a movie too, where it's like happy, then this sad horribleness, and then out of nowhere, it's like let's sing about eating bugs. It's super weird, man. The more I think about it now, but that was one that in theaters that got me a little bit because I saw Jurassic Park in theaters, but I was a little older, probably like 9. The Lion King, man, that was that's a little scary.
Yeah, that was spooky. I get that. I'm out of them, Johnny. I don't know if you have any more. I guess I could say one. Volcano freaked me out as a kid. Volcano and Dante's Peak, like the idea of a volcano just randomly erupting and burying me in ash. But it's like we lived in Salt Lake Valley. Like it's just not
You
gonna.
never know, man. You
There's no
never know.
volcanoes. There's no tectonic plates.
Hey, you never know, man.
No.
Uh, the only one that I didn't really like, I think we owned it. Um, uh, yeah, we did own it. I'm trying to remember the name. Oh, Never Ending Story. Oh man, that's what it was.
With the big white dragon.
Yeah, like it was just those Jim Henson movies like that, Dark Crystal. They were just weird for me. But Never Ending Story, like it was. I watched it and then I rewatched it and I was all right. Like the second time. But it was a weird book, man. It was weird. It made me not want to like fantasize about having a dog flying me around.
Yeah. So if you had to rank them, what do you think was the most out of all the things we heard? What would you say is the most scarring? And it can't be a
I'm
horror
still
film.
I'm still scarred by Matilda, man.
Okay, we'll go with Matilda. Out of all those
Dude,
ones,
for me.
I'll say
Uh,
Signs for me. That one came up the
that's
most,
such a heavy movie, though, man. I'm shocked you can even watch that.
but it wasn't meant to
Going
be straight.
for
It was
okay,
meant to be a thriller. It wasn't meant to be straight horror. So
give me one that was tailored for kids. TVY7. That scarred you a little. or even TV PG. Because technically, isn't Jurassic Park 13 or PG?
I don't know. I was just gonna say maybe Aladdin freaked me out a little as a kid when he turns into the
Aladdin.
big
Okay,
snake.
when he's going into the what's it called, in the Cave of Wonders?
No, it was more at the very end when Jafar is turning into a big snake and he's gonna bite him. I was just kind of like, ugh, snakes. And I mean, I was like 6 when I first saw that, right? So snakes were still kind of on the thing of,
Yeah, Jurassic Park was PG-13, so I was going off of PG movies. No, there are some snake ones. Didn't the master Chris creates the world? Didn't he say something about snakes terrifying him? Was that in the Indiana Jones scene?
yeah, Indiana Jones hates snakes too, and they bring it up. But there's that terrible scene in Indiana Jones, and I do know Chris hates snakes, so
Yeah.
yeah,
Anything with snakes gets that going. And I kind of get it, man. There was this thing with that, but I'd say for me, number one for sure is Matilda. And I'm going based off like movies. It just like made my stomach kind of feel awkward.
yeah,
Like, when your stomach turns a little and you're like, this is weird.
yeah.
Why am I finishing this? I have to be brave. And then now you watch it and you're like, why was I scared? Okay, it's a little creepy, but why was I scared?
Yeah, seriously. Or there's the money scene. Actually, in Matilda, the one scene that made me really uncomfortable is when the dad's like holding the daughter, making her watch like the money pit thing. I don't know if that sounds familiar. And then she blows up the TV. That made me uncomfortable as a kid for whatever reason.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just skeezy. Like, I did want to when I was little, though. How the dad reset Danny DeVito reset the mileage by reversing that, and I remember my dad needed to resell the car or something. I'm like, why doesn't he just do that? Make more money. The stuff we pick up as a kid.
Yeah. I remember asking my dad, let's put some sawdust in our car. Like, wouldn't that be good for it? Because that's what he's doing.
Uh, the things we learn about crappy car salesmen.
Oh. All right, Knights. Well, that is it. What movie scarred you as a child? And it can't be a horror film, although you could mention that. Let us know in the comments below. We'd like to hear. And we will catch you on the flippity flop.
Flippity flip.